morning.
Morning.
Welcome to Unity. Welcome to this place where our God is love, our race is human, and our faith is oneness. Fourth Sunday in Advent, just a few days before Christmas. So, a lot of things going on. So I invite you to bring in to this time everything that's going on in your life. Because there's plenty of room here. Because we join together with churches everywhere, and with temples and mosques and sacred circles. We come together in openness and receptivity for the one presence and one power of absolute goodness. So, for you and for everything in your life, come on in. Well, I lit 5 candles over there. The center candle represents the Christ. Traditionally, the Advent Wreath, you light 4 candles, and then on Christmas Eve, you light the center candle for the Christ. We celebrate the Christ as being everywhere present, always present. The 4 candles around it, this year we're using to symbolize different pathways to the Christ, different pathways to spiritual awakening, to encountering and awakening the light within us. Different paths. The path of devotion, the path of the heart, of gratitude and praise, the path of the Holy Family, the path of the wise ones, the path of science and the mind and theology and philosophy, the path of the innkeeper who made room in his busy life to serve that couple that showed up there. That's the path of service. That's also connected with the path of the world, of the body, because the animals that were present at the nativity scene. Today we talk about the path represented by the shepherds. The path of prayer and meditation. The path of positive thinking and thought power. Story has 3 elements. There's angels, there's shepherds, and there's sheep. They all represent things within us. The angels represent inspiration, divine ideas. They could be angelic beings. They could be voices or inspiration from outside of us, beyond us. But they certainly represent inspirations that come up from within us, from our intuition and from our deep inner knowing. Have you had some experience with breakthroughs, with aha moments, with inspirations? Perhaps you're like a lot of people and have had inspirations, breakthroughs, experiences that are hard to explain. Not necessarily winged creatures, but a breakthrough of something that's clear, the voice of an angel. Let's be open to inspiration. Let's be open to our angels. So I invite you to say, I open my life to love's inspiration, to the inspiration of love, to divine inspiration. I open my life to love's inspiration. Say that with me. I open my life to love's inspiration. Be open to angels. Inspirations, thoughts. We have lots of thoughts. They're going through our minds all the time. We're confronted with thoughts, opinions, ideas, attitudes all the time. Think of them as sheep. They stick together. They move together, like in systems. Some of them come from within us, some of them come from around us. Some of them are constructive and inspirational. Some of them are destructive. Sometimes thought systems seem to have a life of their own because they have an energy about them. Political thoughts, they stick together. They have an energy. They have a life of their own. It's like the thoughts that people have when they're at a football stadium. There's, we all get caught up in something together. They're like sheep. They move together. Sometimes sheep get afraid. and they stampede. They get out of control. Sometimes our thoughts get out of control. Sometimes they stampede in a particular direction, maybe go charging off a cliff. They have to be managed. Some of those thoughts that sometimes things come up and frighten us, and our thoughts get going. Sometimes something comes up that triggers something from our history and awakens a previous and older thought system, and it gets going. We have to manage our thoughts. We have to make sure that our thinking doesn't get stampeded and get us into trouble. That's one of the functions of a shepherd. He guides the sheep. He makes sure that they stay safe. He's a manager. Keep things positive and constructive. We do that with thought power. We do that by keeping our thoughts positive, with affirmations, with visualizations, with gratitude, with praise, with requests, by connecting with others. We lead our sheep to green pastures and beside still waters. So that's the management side of shepherding. That's the shepherd as a guide. Shepherds also watch out for predators. They have to guard their sheep. We have to guard our thoughts sometimes from predators, from energy that would want to direct our thoughts. Now that's the purpose of advertising, okay? And sometimes those ads do feel predatory because they're on over and over and over again. But the ones that we really need to watch out for are things like rage, or greed, or envy, or hatred, or depression, or lack. Those are predators that endanger the entire thought process, that endanger the flock. And in unity, we have a process that we call denials, that we say, no, you don't belong here. Move, be gone. You have no power here. So shepherds guard and guide. Another thing that shepherds do is they watch. They stay awake all night long. They pay attention to what's going on with the flock. They're observers. This is like the process of mindfulness meditation. This is like the process of becoming a witness of the activity of our thinking. It's a classic meditation practice. Watch your thoughts. Notice your thoughts. Identify your thoughts. This is like knowing yourself. This is a very clear thing in Western civilization. Know thyself. It's like becoming aware of your inner activity, and they call it shadow work today, or therapy, or could be doing a personal inventory. knowing yourself like the shepherd knows the sheep. So as a shepherd, we watch, guard, and guide our thoughts. We watch, guard, and guide our thoughts. That's a path to Bethlehem. That's a path to spiritual awakening, thought power, meditation, prayer, positive thinking, taking responsibility for the activity of our minds. In the yoga tradition, that's called the royal path, Raja Yoga, which includes thought power and meditation. Leads to awakening. It leads the shepherds to Bethlehem, to the baby Jesus. That spiritual practice, that category of spiritual practices lead us to enlightenment, awakening, Christ consciousness, what you want to call it. So we might say, as I watch, guard, and guide my thoughts, I am led to the light. As I watch, guide, and guard my thoughts, I am led to the light. Say that with me. Say that to yourself. As I watch, guard, and guide my thoughts, I am led to the light of the Christ. We're going to do an exercise in watching our thoughts. A kind of traditional mindfulness meditation in the context of shepherds and sheep. So we're going to notice our thoughts, observe them, identify them in the same way that shepherds know their sheep. So we can imagine that we're sitting outside where we have a perspective on things, and that there are a number of different pastures around us, that we're shepherds, and we're going to be directing the sheep into particular pastures. Okay? And there's a number of options. And these are places where categories of thoughts go. One of the pastures could be body and health. Another pasture might be family, friends, relationships, work, goals, problems, money, play, news, the world. They're different categories. And so when you notice a thought come up, when a sheep approaches you as the shepherd, you notice this one's was on the news. This goes over there. This one's about family. This goes over there. And so you just send it to the appropriate place and you keep watching. You return to being an observer, a witness of the activity of your mind. You sit in the dark, kind of observing. You have a kind of perspective on, as if looking at the town of Bethlehem, you have a looking at the town of Rochester, looking at the town where you live, and you have a perspective on it and yourself and your life there. So, take a moment now to allow yourself to become an observer. Be comfortable. Be alert. Notice any activity of your mind. Imagine that you're like a shepherd watching the sheep coming in to the pastures. And as they come in, you identify the sheep. You identify the thoughts and send it to the appropriate place. You're putting them away. You're storing them. Rather than getting caught up with them, you're setting them aside, putting them in their place. There may be some thoughts that come up that have no place, predators, and you say, no, there's no room for you here. So, sit, watch, observe. Identify your thoughts and put them in their place and return to being a witness. Return to being the shepherd that is watching, guiding, and guarding the thoughts. Open and receptive to love's inspiration. Sitting in the silence, sitting in that inner darkness, managing your thoughts, available to love's inspiration. In the silence. In the silence. Having spent time in the silence, what would you remember from this time? What would you take with you back to your awake, active state? Is there an idea of something to think or say or do? Is there someone to see? Is there something to be? Deepen your breathing. Bring awareness back to your body-mind system. Bring your awareness back to here and now. Conscious, responsible, as a shepherd that watches, guides, and guards your thoughts, that takes you to the light of the world. We give thanks. We give thanks. Amen and amen. What is it that you have to do today? How will you give the energy of your life to the community that we share, to the world? Let your giving be joyful and easy. The daily word today is joy. So let's live joyfully and easily, because we are connected with an infinite source of love and wisdom, of life and strength. Let's give of our time and our talents and our treasure joyfully and easily, because God is our source and abundance is our nature. And so let's claim that as we think about the day, as we think about entering into this special week with Christmas, giving of ourselves joyfully and easily, acknowledging our connection with our source. I give joyfully and easily, for God is my source and abundance is my nature. You can say that with me. I give joyfully and easily, for God is my source and abundance is my nature. And let's give a blessing now to others. Connecting with family and friends that we may not be able to see this holiday. We may be able to connect with them in our hearts, though, because there is no limitation in spirit. And so we join our hearts with family and friends. We join our hearts with people in pain, people in fear. We bring them these words of assurance, the prayer for protection for all of us. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let there be peace. Peace.